Hey guys, Colton here from the EV Kingdom, and welcome to part 2 of What If Team RWBY Had Their Superpowers. And I'm just gonna say this right now. Wow. I posted the video around a week ago, and within the first day, already 100 views. Or at least around that. So yeah, thank you all for viewing this series. I'm still impressed that it happened so fast. But, anyways, I just want to thank you all for that real fast. Now, back to the what if. And I've been thinking a lot about this, trying to make sure the rest of Volume 1 sounds pretty accurate to everything. And while also still being the what if. So, if I make a few mistakes, please let me know. I'll try to improve them for later, or parts and later what ifs. Anyways, in the last part, I went over how Team RWBY got their powers, what point in time they got them, and the consequences of getting them. Yang and Ruby are pretty much non-changing except for the fact that they are training their powers in secret. Blake ran away from the White Fang a lot sooner, and Weiss had a complete 180 on her personality. I am going to get to it, but I'll say this right now. Weiss has a different outlook on the White Fang as a entire race, rather than just her snobby personality thinking of it. Again, keep that in mind. Anyways, we get to right before the team test, and Weiss is still trying to get Pyrrha to join her team. But she also makes a passing remark to RWBY that she wouldn't mind if they were partners, showing that Weiss does at least respect her a little bit. Plus, RWBY is the only one who took an interest in what she liked to do. So yeah. Yeah, strengthening that bond. And John doesn't get thrown out by Weiss this time. Well, Weiss doesn't tell Pyrrha to get rid of him, since she doesn't really care. So, yeah. Anyways, the test happens. Team RWBY's landing methods either don't change or change slightly. RWBY can just teleport. Weiss has to use some of her Weiss patent and dust gear. Yang and Blake probably land the exact same way they did as in canon, and they all still partner up with different changes. And I'll start with Blake and Yang. Yang is still fighting. Yang is still fighting the Ursas, and when they get a piece of her hair off, she does go ham. And it was pretty bad in the first part for the Grimm. Now, Yang can literally set at them on fire. Which she does. And I will say Blake's seen this. And she's able to at least tell since her and Yang's powers are somewhat similar, except for different elements. But Blake says nothing, not wanting to get suspicion on her. And everything they do is as close to canon as possible, so nothing really changes. RWBY and Weiss, there's a lot to change with their encounters. One, Weiss doesn't mind teaming up with RWBY, so they don't really find John. So she's still... So John still pairs up with Pyrrha. Next, they still get lost. Weiss is still terrible with directions. And everything leading up to the Beowulf fights happens. Weiss still tries fighting them. RWBY, instead of using her semblance to just pop in, she teleports in. And Weiss still somewhat causes a fire from accidentally having her gloves activate. Well, yeah. She was gonna use her gloves to catch some of them on fire while she deals with the others. RWBY still did that, so her gloves accidentally fire at a different area. RWBY teleports them away, so they're not anywhere near it. Whites would complain, and also notice that RWBY is a little bit injured. Now, I do want to mention this. I did mention in the first part that instead of having aura, they have enhanced durability, meaning they can take hits. But they can still get injured. Just because they're extra durable doesn't mean you can't get hurt by a knife or losing a finger or something like that. So RWBY has a little bit of a burn, but it'll heal up on its own. Which whites would be questioning RWBY about it, and RWBY's not the best with secrets. So I think while Whites is questioning her, he gets over. She gets a little bit into. Point is, he spills the beans and lets Whites know that she has no powers. Well, has no semblance or aura. And that her ability is natural. Which Whites is honestly annoyed, but not for the reasons RWBY was expecting. Whites is annoyed that RWBY is in the same boat as her, not having aura or semblance, but she got a power while Whites didn't. And yeah, she's still angry, but deep down she's happy to know someone else is like her, even if it's not exactly like her. They also find the Nevermore, but RWBY teleports onto it instead of doing everything she did to get on it in the first part. And when they're over the temple with the relics, RWBY just teleports her and Whites off of it. So the Nevermore doesn't really notice that they're off, or at least doesn't notice where they went. And everything else at that point still happens. They fight the Scorpion. I don't think the Nevermore would be there, since it wouldn't really know when they fell off or where they fell, since there's not a huge loud noise. So, possibly? So the fight's pretty more simple. Anyways, they get teamed up. Their teams are formed. Team RWBY is still Team RWBY. RWBY's still the leader. Whites isn't as upset about it, and as in canon, since she's more just happy she managed to become a huntress, even without a semblance. And she has a little more respect for RWBY than in canon, so she's not gonna judge her by how childish she is. All that often, anyways. The next part that really changes is the Whites episode, ironically. Now, Whites is still gonna fight the board because she wants to prove herself, but she's not really. Well, yeah, she's also annoyed that RWBY's being childish, but she also just wants to prove to everyone that she's capable even without a semblance. RWBY does still give her advice, and instead of yelling at RWBY, I think Whites is more focused on trying to have it show its belly to take advantage of it. So she's not gonna yell at RWBY at this moment. Whites, I'll say she figures something out, like use a desk while the ball is rolling at her, or uses her boots to create enough wind to push it back. Either way, Whites somehow manages White somehow manages to beat the Grimm. And we actually head to Team RWBY in their dorm. And White is in the middle of working on one of her gear. Here, if I'm going the boot route, she's probably enhancing it or fixing it because it kind of broke during the fight. And Ruby is still studying. And Weiss notices that even though she's a child, she is taking this seriously. So she actually asks Ruby for help with her gear, and in return she would help her study. Ruby, happy about being involved, helps her out. Also, I think Ruby would suggest making a weapon to help Weiss fight better. So I'm gonna say both of them end up creating a weapon similar to Weiss's original weapon, but different. Since Weiss doesn't have resemblance, she can utilize the old one in the correct way, for the Schnee family. So they create one that also has an extending blade, and can be infused with dust instead of any kind. So basically a shocking whip, or a blazing one. I think I can come up with a few fun ideas for that. And the last part I'm gonna get at is the end of Volume 1. Now, nothing really changes with the stuff involving John, except for the fact that Weiss is also annoyed when Team Cardin's picking on Velvet for being a Faunus. Again, I'm gonna mention it later, so hold on. But yeah, Team RWBY are pretty much in town looking around, hoping to find students for the Vital Festival to learn things about them. And yeah, the entire conversation with the White Fang happens. I do want to mention that Blake is still defending the White Fang despite being away for so long. Or at least the members that aren't Adam. Yeah, she lost all faith in Adam at this point. I mean, again, watch part 1 if you want information on it. But yeah, a conversation happens. They still find Penny. They still chase after Sun. White still mentions what happened with some of the people of her family's company. And Blake still mentions that she was a member. Or at least that's what they find out. And yeah, everything else still happens. White's having a different sense of morality, which I'm gonna state this now. She still doesn't like the White Fang. She respects the Faunus now, due to somewhat understanding their situation. But she is still not a fan of the White Fang. And that happened to her company, which is a lot more personal than a Faunus walking down the street and getting bullied. So yeah, my reasoning for why this would still happen. Now, Blake is still at the docks with the dust. I really need to rewatch Volume 1. Anyways, they're still there. Ruby's just appeared. And I don't think Penny really needs to do anything here. Ruby can teleport, so her location is gonna be a lot more sporadic and all around. And Blake, has known that her team also like her. Her superpowers, except for Weiss. And seeing that Ruby's still there despite knowing she's a White Fang member, and I think Ruby would teleport to her and still treat her like nothing's ever changed. And they will get their butts handed to them a little bit. I mean, Ruby is teleporting a lot, but they are still surrounded and they still have a chip. And I had this all better planned out before doing this. Yes, I'm gonna have to write this down again. Anyways, I actually believe Blake's the one who steps up and starts going ham on well, does what Penny does. Or at least accidentally uses her shadow manipulation to create a giant shadow pillar, or taking out the chip. Roman would honestly realize he's not gonna win and back runs away. A lot of the members there actually are unconscious, and so they get arrested. And I think I've heard some people say they weren't White Fang members, but people wearing White Fang masks. But I'm just gonna leave that there. Yeah, Blake tells Ruby not to tell all the rest of the team. Blake says she'll be a better person. Well, try understanding her better. Her team Ruby reunites, and I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna try writing some things down so I don't get off topic for the next part. But let me know what you think of this series so far. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if I made any mistakes, please let me know. I want to try to not make them in the future, so you all can enjoy this a lot more. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.